In 2009, a fairly ridiculous David and Goliath story started brewing. The highest-grossing film of all time was being threatened with legal action by the then record holder for lowest wide-release opening weekend of all time, average 2 viewers per screening. The role of Goliath obviously was played by Avatar, James Cameron's decade-in-the-making divisive game-changer that showed studios that people would actually pay you $4 for plastic glasses and then give them back. The role of David went to Delgo, Fathom Studios' decade-in-the-making attempted game-changer that tried to show studios that they no longer held a monopoly on feature animation. The lawsuit never went through because it was fucking stupid. The only reason anyone even paid attention is because shouting Avatar and rip-off is a great way to make idiots stampede. Speaking of uncanny resemblance, put this lawsuit next to a cheap, desperate grasp at pseudo-relevancy and I can't tell the difference. Type Delgo into IMDb and it is the 11th result. Delgo was an underdog, a passion project, a do-or-die attempt at a game-changer by Fathom Studios, headed up by Mark F. Adler, who wore his heart on his sleeve and was never shy about his intentions.
You better not miss this movie.
Animated films were the territory of the studios, a bastion under long but ineffectual siege by Moore's Law. Adler would lead the victorious charge that put them in the hands of the independents, and his weapon would be Delgo, an attempt both literal and metaphorical to bring us into a whole new world. It'll get harder and harder the more of it you have to see, but remember all of this because Delgo has the noblest of intentions. Some of the creative team maybe had their heads up their asses, but even that might have been a necessity to keep them going after so many years. This review is about Delgo, the three-legged puppy that pees on your carpet, but because I'm a bit of a dick, this review is also about Avatar, the hot girl that nerds call shallow because you won't get tender with him. The legal threats were based on a hope and a prayer, but fundamentally the two movies were trying to do the same thing. Create an alien world we'd love falling into, ideally again and again. One worked, one didn't. And there are many mitigating factors beyond the baseline narrative qualities and presentation of each, but give Delgo a $1 billion handicap and it's still $1 billion short of Avatar's success. I don't think Delgo illustrates why Avatar was a great movie, but I think it illustrates why a lot of the complaints about Avatar were really stupid. So strap on your 2D glasses and let's dive in. There's already something wrong, isn't there? That is a low-budget font. That is a kids' TV show font. A video game font, maybe. You know, then again, papyrus. Inconclusive. Moving on. The first shot insists that we be filled with awe and wonder at the otherworldliness of a rich and detailed alien ecosystem. Too bad we're being filled with awe and wonder at the cast list. Freddie Prinze Jr., Chris Kattan, Lou Gossett Jr., yeah, Val Kilmer, Michael Clarke Duncan, Eric Idle, Burt Reynolds, and yes, Malcom McDowell. Holy moly, it's the Expendables of C-list voice casts. Delgo opens with a protracted and mostly pointless backstory outlining the reason for racial tension between the winged Norrin and lizard-like Lockney. Territorial skirmishes erupt into open war thanks to the power-hungry Sedessa, who is eventually banished and de-winged to broker a shaky peace. In an animated movie, it should be easy to remember to show and not tell, but this intro comes with a voiceover at hazard was 99% pointless.
And the spark of vengeance ignited the flames of battle.
Preferring the cheap grandeur of vague platitudes, Delgo elects to provide narration of staggering redundancy, like the audio track for the visually impaired got accidentally switched on. I mean, that is like filmmaking 101. They also give us backstory that mistakes big for rich, assuming that the fact of its complexity will draw people in rather than immediately turn them off by overburdening them with information. 6 minutes that feel like 15 years later, the story can begin in earnest. Sedessa has been busy recruiting the various barbarian tribes of the planet to her side. In a final act of consolidation, she brings their armies under her lone banner by killing all the tribe chieftains with poison gas. Oh, hey, kids, don't cry. Later, Chris Kattan's gonna scream a lot. Oh, well, that just made it worse. Meanwhile, Delgo and his friend Philo are racing lizards through a canyon, the sort of adventurous introductory scene that usually works. Much of the inherent entertainment is beaten bloody by Chris Kattan doing this. You know, it's not really that complicated, guys. If you need someone to make this noise in your movie, you did something wrong. It is not a good movie. The race ends at a cliff face with one more unbelievably forced joke.
Philo, why is that tree on fire?
Fire? Oh, that fire! The one there, this one with the flames. Yeah. Oh, well, you see, there was all of a sudden, I don't know what it was. And then what fire are you talking about?
God, I want to send a bouquet to whoever had to animate Chris Kattan's stuttering ad-libs. Honestly, how long do you think that shit took to render? With Philo monologuing ad nauseum, it's the serendipitous arrival of Princess Kyla that saves Delgo.
Need some help?
From a Norrin? I don't think so.
Yeah, you've probably got time for a sassy eye roll, why not? Things seem to be on the up and up until one of the princess's bodyguards, kill him, show up and drag her away. Okay, strong-willed but naive hero, borderline retarded comic relief, sassy but naive princess. Hey, where the hell is my superficial shoehorn mysticism? Oh, this is bullshit. Why want my superficial... there it is.
Connect with the stone, Delgo. Feel its pulse.
I mean, shoehorn doesn't even cut it. The act of moving red stones with your mind is given absolutely zero thematic value. It exists entirely as a conduit for empty platitudes.
We cannot change the past, but we can choose what we learned from it.
Shit finally starts to approach getting real when the evil general imprisons the, I guess, not so evil colonel, and then busts up the stone garden to incite war. Seems to be working on Delgo.
We should fight now, before it's too late.
Delgo, my boy, war is easier begun than ended. There's only honor in fighting for what you believe, if what you believe is honorable.
Ah, shut the fuck up. Wait, hey, you were just saying you hate them, dude.
The Lockney and Norrin will never get along.
That was close. Delgo and... oh, God, he's back. Get thrown in prison and need to set aside special differences to work out an escape plan with the colonel.
What? You're not gonna... Oh, no. Delgo, no. No, no, no. Not with my help. No, no, no. No, 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 no.
Oh my God, I want to invent a Tron machine so I can digitize myself and go in there and throttle you and watch your eyes turn into dead pixels. The general, meanwhile, finally enacts his master plan. Now stay with me, because this is subtle political intrigue at its most complex. He throws the princess in a cell. Everyone automatically assumes she was, like, stolen or something with absolutely no evidence or proof, and boom! War! Done. No discussion, no diplomacy, no consideration of the approximately infinite more plausible explanation for events. No reason why even the most ham-fisted of allegorical elements should be paid the slightest attention to from now on because they're built on a ridiculously faulty premise.
Spiders! 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 They're all over me! They're all over me! They're all over me! They're in my pants! They're in my pants! There's one in my pants! Oh, get them off of me! Get them off of me! Get them off of me!
So Delgo and the Colonel and fuckface why the fuck is he even in this movie? Jesus Christ, do you realize that given it was a vocal performance, they could so easily have just dropped all this material, they would very specifically have had to have chosen to keep it in, maybe even combined several days to get it. Dear God, continue their journey of tolerance and acceptance by helping each other make it out of the cave past a big crab and to the surface. Valuable lesson learned.
I'm going after the princess.
I'm going with you.
I don't need any help from a Lockney.
For about 10 seconds. A completely contrived plot device leads them to the princess.
What is that thing?
I have no idea, but odds are it will lead us to Kyla.
And after the rescue, a Bugs Bunny-like chase through an asteroid field driving home Delgo's inability to pick a demographic. Case in point. Ha! Nah, suicide. The two armies finally clash in what was supposed to be a climactic and epic battle, but in 2008 this shit was already old. A piece of software called Massive had been developed for Lord of the Rings to systematize digital crowd behavior, and ever since, the camera sweeping over biggest fucking army you've ever seen been a spectacle of diminishing returns. And if your use of evocative visual language comes down to plonking the camera in front and center and shaking it a bit, that is not helping. No, kids, don't cry. That guy didn't really have a massive metal spike rammed up his ass. I just can't think of an honest way to finish that sentence. Delgo races to prove to the opposing sides that the princess is still alive, and that they're idiots for going to war over someone missing for like a day. Meanwhile, the colonel and the general clash in a holy, what the fuck? This is awesome. Delgo, what the fuck? This kicks ass. What happened? Who directed this part? Oh, and we're back. Doesn't this just sum it up? This is beautiful. This just says it all right here. Whoa! Yeah! Yeah, flip the fucking table. Hell yeah! Delgo suddenly gives up for no reason at all.
Kyla, can you get a message to the Norrin troops?
For about 10 seconds. Well, Delgo crashes to Dessa's pad to save the king. Kyla tries to get the attention of the commanding officers.
You are not going anywhere.
And that just works, huh? And Philo finally does something useful by calling in a callback with a stampede of horror cows. Wow. Yes, we can tell you only used one model in Walk Cycle. Anyway, on the princess's orders, the Norrin pull the Lockney out of harm's way, and the stampede chases away Sedessa's barbarian hordes. Lesson being, in case of race war, have princess stamp foot. Back at Sedessa's lair, everything is going to shit, capped off by her hanging desperately from a cliff. Delgo does the standard "I'll save you even though you try to kill me" thing, but then... lesson learned, let them die, which she does, exactly as she would have. 10 seconds later. All right, celebration. Why did everyone stop fighting? What happened to diffuse the racial tension? Whatever, suddenly everyone's best friends again. The end. Mark F. Adler and Jason F. Moorer. The F is for can't. Because again, the intentions were pure. There's nothing morally or ideologically wrong with Delgo. It's not offensive or despicable in any outright way, and it was an honest attempt to do something new. It sucks. It sucks. But you can't hate it. There's nothing to hate. That's part of why it sucks, because it never reaches far enough to be anything more than ugh. Delgo is not well produced. There are scenes like this where models and animation loops have been recycled painfully. Worse is the character animation. There's a stiffness to the movement. None of them is acting as an organic whole, but as disparate elements of motion, like robots. If the creepy faces weren't enough to alienate on their own, the dip they take into the uncanny valley with the way they move around does it. And the creative team used the absolute freedom of a totally digital camera so sparingly you'd think they had to pay every time they wanted to rent a pricey digital jib. And, okay, metaphorically you could argue that they did, but holy hell does it show. So is it in any way fair to compare this to Avatar? It didn't have a big marketing budget. It was released in the packed and competitive holiday season. Meanwhile, Avatar had James Cameron's name, new technology that was hyped into being the second coming, and 3D premiums on ticket sales. Taking all that away, though, Delgo remains intrinsically off-putting. That is its quintessential value, and that is the basis for comparison. Delgo fails as a business venture for any number of reasons, but it fails as a movie because it is off-putting. You could see it trying to correct for that with the cookie-cutter characters and plot elements, but coloring inside the lines doesn't matter when you drew a big dick. That thing is still off-putting. Avatar is called derivative approximately all the time, but generic is a better word, because no one called Last Samurai derivative of Pocahontas, derivative of Fern Gully, derivative of Dances with Wolves. An everyman hero discovers a foreign world and culture, becomes increasingly empathetic to that culture, and eventually must return to his own people with the knowledge he's gained, for better or worse. Avatar was in the pipe for a very long time. It was to be the showcase and, more importantly, the litmus test for the 3D technology James Cameron had developed himself. The eventual cost was estimated at close to $500 million. Avatar was sitting on a $500 million debt and a big pile of stereoscopic cameras and projectors. Do or die doesn't even cut it. When people talk about Avatar's genericism, screw you spell check, it could be a word. It's like they figured it out. They saw through the glitz and glamour. They wiped the stars out of their eyes, not like those audience sheeple too fixated on the spectacle and the spectacles. Assholes. Every frame of that movie was lovingly, knowingly handcrafted into being generic. Figuring that out is akin to figuring out that there were hints of Eastern Europe in Animal Farm's bouquet. Cameron's team spent an eternity researching the elements in an alien race that would engender immediate empathy. Cameron himself said that the female lead was given breasts despite the alien physiology not accounting for mammalian nursing because she had to be hot. And she did, because when you have a $500 million debt, you do not take unnecessary risks. What do you get when you do? You guessed it. Delgo was maybe more nobly intentioned than Avatar in his non-coercive world building, but the thing is no one cared because no one saw it. People latched onto the lawsuit because it's cool to hate Avatar, not because it's cool to like Delgo. Delgo is what happens when someone believes they can rise above the audience comfort zone, but we're lazy and we have short attention spans, and we like our tropes and our archetypes and our monomyths, and Avatar and Delgo both needed to be icons more than they needed to be movies. One strayed just far enough outside of the beaten path to seem novel, where millions upon millions of people still felt it was safe to follow. The other one took off at a 90-degree angle, adventurously, proudly, alone.